Hello, everyone. My name is Renée Turner, and welcome to my senior project, Safe Place. I started constructing this project in December of last year, and we've been rehearsing since the beginning of February. And following this performance, we're going to be having a talkback facilitated by Bernardo Solano. So if you have any questions at that time, you'll be able to ask them. And now I'm going to pass it on to our stage manager, Nathan Pangan, for the pre-show announcement. Thank you. I hope you enjoy.
Hello. Welcome to Safe Place. We ask that the audiences please turn off their cameras, mute themselves, and hide non-video participants through the video settings during this performance. Trigger warning. This production contains the topics of school shootings and gun violence, loud gunshots, brief profanity, and mental health topics.
April 20th, 1999, Columbine High School.
March 21st, 2005, Red Lake Senior High School.
October 2nd, 2006, West Nickel Mines School.
April 16th, 2007, Virginia Tech.
February 14th, 2008, Northern Illinois University.
April 2nd, 2012, Oikos University.
December 14th, 2012, Sandy Hook Elementary School.
June 7th, 2013, Santa Monica College.
October 24th, 2014, Marysville Pilchuck High School.
October 1st, 2015, Umpqua Community College.
February 14th, 2018, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School.
These are the most notorious mass school shootings to have occurred in the last 20 years or so. Of course, this list does not even begin to cover the amount of school shootings that happen each year or the life-altering effects an event like this will have on the victims and victims' families.
A school shooting is defined as an attack at an educational institution, such as a primary school, secondary school, or university involving the use of firearms. A school shooting can be classified as mass shooting when 4 or more deaths occur, excluding the perpetrator.
When planning a school shooting, perpetrators are often influenced by past school shootings. Columbine served as a blueprint for many future school shootings to follow.
As of December of 2020, 231 school shootings have happened since Columbine. 304 people have died as a result of school shooters, including the perpetrators. An additional 485 people have been injured as a result of school shootings.
Gun control has been an issue in the United States since the foundation of our country. Even in the 1700s and 1800s, there was talk of who should be able to buy a gun and what restrictions should be applied to gun purchases. Gun control has remained a relevant issue since Kennedy was assassinated in 1963. Subsequently, there have been endless laws and bans regarding gun control, but we still find ourselves facing the same issues in our current time.
By the end of March 2020, it was claimed that it was the first March since March 2002 to go by without a school shooting happening. However, this depends on what is defined by the term school shooting. It took the coronavirus pandemic to occur for school shootings to stop happening.
Even though school shootings were occurring, gun sales skyrocketed during the pandemic. By August, 1.3 million handguns, 700,000 rifles, and shotguns were sold.
In 2020, there were 10 school shootings with injuries or death. During these shootings, 3 people were killed, 2 students and 1 employee or other adult. 9 individuals were injured.
It is difficult to assess the likelihood of school shootings happening once the pandemic is over. There has been an enormous increase in gun purchases, and quarantine has put some individuals in abusive homes.
This last year has brought immense hopelessness and depression to many people. How will we combat the issue of school shootings once everyone is back in person for school?
Jefferson County 911.
Yes, I'm a teacher at Columbine High School, and there is a student here with a gun.
Columbine High School?
I don't know what's in my shoulder, if it was just some glass or what.
Has anyone been injured, ma'am?
I am, yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and the school is in panic, and I'm in the library. I've got students down under the table, kids, heads under the table. Kids are screaming, and the teachers are trying to take control of things. We need police here.
Okay, we're getting them there.
Can you please hurry?
Who is the student, ma'am?
I don't know who the student is.
Okay.
I saw a student outside. I was in the hall. Oh dear God, okay. I was on hall duty. I saw a gun and said, "What's going on out here?" And this kid said, "Oh, it's probably a video production, probably a joke." I said, "Well, I don't think that's a good idea." And I went walking outside to see what was going on. He turned the gun straight at us and shot it. Oh my God. The window went out and the kid standing with me, I think he got hit.
Okay.
I have something in my shoulder.
Okay, we got help on the way, ma'am.
Okay. Oh my God.
Stay on the line with me.
Oh God. Kids, stay down.
Do we know where he's at?
I'm sorry.
Do we know where he's at?
Okay. I'm in the library. He's upstairs. He's right outside here.
Outside of the hall or outside?
In the hall.
Okay.
There are alarms and things going off. Smoke. My God, smoke is coming into the room.
Okay. I just want you to stay on the line with me. We need to know what's going on.
Okay. I'm on the floor.
Okay. You've got the kids there.
In the library. I've got every student in the library on the floor. And you gotta stay on the floor.
Is there any way you can lock the doors?
The smoke is coming out from out there, and the gun is right outside the library door. Okay, I don't think I'm going to go out there.
Okay.
Okay.
You're at Columbine High School.
I've got 3 children.
Okay, we've got it.
Okay.
Yes?
I'm going to go to the door to shut the door, okay? I've got the kids on the floor. I've got all the kids on the library on the floor.
We have paramedics. We have fire and police en route. Okay?
Okay.
Is there any way you can block the door so no one can get in?
Yes, I guess I can try to go, but I mean, like, he's right outside the door. I'm afraid to go to the door.
That's okay.
That's where he is. I don't know. I said, what has what does that kid got? He was outside the time, and I was on hall duty. Oh God. And he was like, woohoo, woohoo. Like getting shot off. I said, what's going on out here? Said it's a cap gun, probably a video production. You know, they do these videos.
Right.
It's not, a play gun, a real gun. I was going out there to say no, and I went walking. Oh my God. Oh my God, that was so close. That was really close.
Okay.
Oh my God.
What is your name, ma'am?
My name is Patty.
Patty?
He just told everyone to get up now. He's in the library. He's shooting kids.
It's just quaint and what you'd expect from a small, beautiful New England town. It's a special time here. There was a meteor shower on the 13th, and I was outside with my 2 boys that night. We saw 7 shooting stars because it's so clear here and so dark here, you can see all of it. After we went inside and they went to bed, I went back outside and I made a wish that both of my sons would always be safe and happy. My cell phone rang at my desk and I picked it up as I recognized it as the school. They have like this automatic call thing where you get messages when there's school closings or delays or when something happens. And so it was our superintendent. And all she said was, all Newtown public schools are closed due to a shooting. Click. And that was it.
Hey, Kyle, it's me. I know you're probably not awake right now, but I had to talk to you, so I'll just leave a message. Jane was sick today, so we stayed home from school. Later on, Sarah called me and said, "Have you heard? Newtown is in lockdown. There's been a shooting at Sandy Hook. Do you know where Jane is right now?" I couldn't breathe. Things like this don't happen here. You know that. We were so lucky Jane did not go to school today. I mean, can you imagine? I ended up telling her about it and she just said, "Why do things like this happen?" And I couldn't think of an answer. Nothing came to mind. How am I supposed to explain to a sweet little kid how messed up our world is? I just cried and she teared up. Eventually, I told her that we need to have hope and that we'll get through these hard times and come out stronger. But it's not fair. She might know some people who didn't make it and they didn't deserve for their lives to be taken away like this. They didn't do anything wrong. They deserve to live. Our world needs a change so events like today never happen again. Kyle, please come home. We need you. Jane needs you. Please come home.
Then they said there was no second shooter and the shooter inside was dead. And they said he was found dead in a classroom. Found in a classroom. And at that point I broke down. I mean, I went out into the yard and I picked up the first stick I could find and I just beat the fuck out of a tree because I knew that was the worst case scenario. The shooter killing himself. I knew he didn't just walk in and shoot himself in front of the kids, and I couldn't imagine why. I knew with that, you know, the information. There was more than the three. Him being in the classroom. And the numbers we just watched in horror as it went from a handful to a dozen, 20. And I thought, we topped Columbine.
When the active shooter drill begins, you assume it's just a normal drill. Groan and wonder why it had to happen today. You want to get more work done on the chemistry project. Out of the classroom window, you can see students sprinting across the hall. That's a little strange, you think. Then all of a sudden, you hear what sounds like fireworks and screams in the hallway. You see your teacher has been discreetly calling 911. But no, a school shooting wouldn't happen here. You think to yourself, it can't happen here. You try to remember what to do in case of a shooting. Lock and barricade the door. Lock the windows and stay out of sight of the windows. Put down the shades and turn off the lights. Stay silent and silence all electronic devices. Take cover, stay still, play dead if the shooter comes in and fires his gun. In the past, When these drills happened, you and your classmate had treated it as a joke. You thought that you shouldn't have drills because you could teach future shooters how to execute his plan. But you didn't think it could happen to you. Staying still and quiet for hours, fearing for your life until it's been announced that the threat has killed himself or has been taken into custody. There is nothing like waiting and accepting that death will come, and there is no way you will make it out of this alive. You become aware of the all clear. You are safe now. You are one of the lucky ones. You wish you could have saved a classmate that has now lost her life. You do not understand how your life was spared when so many others were not. All the problems you faced before this incident now seem meaningless and trivial. You sink back down to the ground, unable to wrap your head around what just happened.
And pity is no recipe for excellence. Those are the first words out of your mouth when you hear there's a shooter. Even before your flash of relief at how circumstance has vindicated your paranoia. Even before you wonder whether your therapist will be forced to apologize the next time you see her for doubting you, judging you. If you even live to see her. Before any of those thoughts can surface, you whisper those words as if in a trance. Pity is no recipe for excellence. Then you find yourself bounding towards the door, eyes on your mirror the entire time, until you're just about to slam it shut. When you catch your department chair, the one who came to tell you, looking at you quizzically. You always imagined it happening to you. So when you hear her say, there's a shooter at the school, you think she must mean your school. Not the school, the elementary school. Next thing you know, you're standing at a police barrier in a line of other anxious parents waiting for some word. Absent any information, parents pull out phones, start streaming CNN, MSNBC to see what they can tell you. The absurdity of watching reporters on your phone who are standing mere feet from you. Reporters who know nothing more than you do is lost in the upside-down logic of this moment. Minutes pass, hours, or so it seems, without any updates from the police. Data plans buckle, phones die. When you hear it, the sound is so much duller than in your imagination, yet it's unmistakable. So is its direction. As officers start to pour out of the building, you know it can only mean one thing. The shooter has now become its own victim. Answers are now inevitable. The sheriff separates parents by classroom and grade, and soon everyone is lined up like children, anxiously waiting for their teachers on the first day of school. You watch the sheriff work his way from classroom to classroom, grade to grade, dispatching some grades wholesale to the safe zone, where their unblemished children wait. With others, he goes down the line, name by name. And some parents collapse into others' arms when it comes to your grade, your room, 2C. He stops short and lowers his gaze. Though he soon finds strength to speak, by that point it is unnecessary. Still, he stumbles on, unleashes a stream of information, how the teacher did her best to barricade the room, how the shooter forced his way in despite her efforts, how the shooter took his own life in that very room. all of which feels painfully irrelevant when stacked against the sheer magnitude of the fact that your son is no longer alive. You silently resent that the sheriff is still speaking, that he's dared to speak at all, resent every word that crosses his quivering lips. So you tune him out, only to notice birds still singing, squirrels preparing for the fast approaching winter, leaves caressing each other in the cool autumn breeze. And you resent them too for their casual indifference. By the time the sheriff moves to the microphones, you resent the sun for giving light enough to see, the air for giving oxygen to breathe, anything and everything that allows you to go on living while your son is dead. Because there you are, still alive, still living, at least, and incapable of doing anything to remedy that most unfortunate fact.
I never used to understand why anyone would want gun control. I grew up in a family that owns guns. I was taught at a young age that if it comes down to life and death and you need to protect yourself, you should have a gun. My dad would take me to the shooting range to get some practice, and doing that together made our once strained relationship stronger than ever before. I loved the shooting range. I loved the adrenaline I would get. Everything about it was liberating. My dad was one of the most selfless people I've ever met. He would do anything to protect the people he loved. He wasn't always there for me when I was a kid, but he realized his wrongs and he became the dad and role model I've always wanted. He was also a high school history teacher. Shooting happened at his school and he was protecting the people that he loved, and it cost him his life. I haven't touched my gun since. I can't bear to use a weapon that we once bonded over. I can't bear to use a weapon that is now filled with hate and aggression. I can't bear to go to the shooting range and use a weapon that killed him and his students. I can't do that anymore.
Well, I think for many, many moms, we have become accidental activists, if you can call it that. For me, at the first meeting with the psychologist, I said to her, I just don't know what to do. I really don't. I'm so angry about this gun stuff. I just don't know what to do. And she said, well, you can't focus on what's happened. If you're really going to be angry about the gun stuff, focus on that. So actually, that was a good idea. After the meeting, I just started sending emails to my legislator, like the Connecticut, all the lawmakers, whoever I could get an email address to, whoever's website I could go to and click and just freeform type. I was just so mad about the gun stuff because I really never knew about it before. I was never really pro-gun, but I wasn't really anti-gun. And now it's like, your eyes are just open to this stuff and now you just can't close them.
You think as you continue wringing the internet dry of whatever it will yield about the senator. His personal life, single from everything you see. His voting record, aggressively pro-gun. Awkward photo ops, a radio interview where he's skeptical about the number of children killed by guns, where he calls those statistics the exaggeration of hysterical liberals. you resolved to find some way to see the senator. Alone.
Colleen, how have you been feeling since our last session?
You know, I have my good days and my bad days. More bad days recently. Today wasn't so great.
What have you been feeling today?
It's the little things. It's the smallest reminder, a loud pop, frantic behavior, news coverage. Every time another school shooting happens somewhere, everything I've tried so hard to forget comes crawling back.
I know that in our past sessions, you haven't wanted to discuss that time in your life. If you want to talk about it, I am here to listen.
I know. I can't get the thought out of my head, and I keep thinking about the morning of the shooting all those years ago. The sky was so blue. The possibilities of the day seemed endless.
Are you okay?
And then everything changed in a split second. I was 17. The biggest concern I had was who was going to prom with who. The shooter targeted our classroom twice. Apparently, one wasn't enough. He shot my friend Anna, who was hiding with me. When he wasn't looking at us anymore, I nestled under her dead body so he would think we were both dead. I honestly don't know how long I was waiting because I don't know when he left. Sometimes when I look back, it feels brief. And other times, it's as if I was hiding forever. Eventually, I kept hearing echoing shots down the hallway until there was one deafening shot, and then silence.
Colleen, Anna meant the world to you as you did to her. I can understand that. A lot of times there's a sort of a community response to an event like this. Would you like to share your experience about this?
Well, I know that there were people that were willing to be there for me, and there were support groups and everything, but asking for help and feeling like a victim, I didn't want to feel like there was something wrong with me. I just pretended I was fine and went on with my life. I tried to forget Anna and my other friends who had been shot. My parents suggested I take a gap year before starting college, but I refused. They suggested therapy, and I refused. All they wanted to do was help, and I shut them out. I still can't imagine how that day was for them. Not knowing if I was okay and waiting hours to find out. That thought only occurred to me when I became a parent. Later that year, one of the custodians at the school was driving a golf cart and ran over a water bottle. The sound that resulted sent me into shock. I couldn't breathe. That's when I knew I could never forget entirely. It might go away for periods of time, but it will always be there.
It can often be hard to find help when we need it. Sometimes it makes us feel insecure or weak because we are struggling. You might feel that it was unfair that you lived when so many others did not. What happened to them was horrific and should never happen to anyone. But it's not your fault. I commend you for seeing in the last few years that you do want help. It's good that it's on your own terms this time. It's not your fault.
I mean, there were times in college where it seemed like everything had gone back to normal. So many of my friends didn't know about that dark time in my life, and I genuinely forgot about it. But then it came back.
When you had Sam?
Yes. He's the sweetest little kid. But Sending him to school scares me. School is supposed to be a safe place for students. But every day when I drop him off to his second grade class, I worry and I'm counting down the hours until I can pick him up. Sometimes he just sees me crying and holds my hand.
Does he know?
No. I want to shield him as much as I can for the time being. But I can't prolong that conversation forever. Eventually he'll know.
What do you think he will make of it all?
I think because he would know I went through it, he would take it more seriously when drills happen. I hope the drills don't trigger him, though. Some schools make the drills too realistic and traumatic. I just want to be able to send him to school and not worry.
What would you like to see changed in school so you don't have to worry when you drop him off each morning?
I think if we had stronger mental health resources and gun control laws, as well as more thorough background checks, I would feel a lot safer. I've heard that most seek out mental health resources before committing the act, but it doesn't work out for them for one reason or another. Most of these school shooters are under 18, so they'll steal guns from other people, a lot of times their own family members. They will tell people their plan or post it online. If there is a clear threat from the intended perpetrator, we need to get that individual help instead of immediately punishing them. Punishing them will only make them more likely to go in the direction of committing a school shooting. I think it's crucial that teachers be trained on how to deal with students that are in crisis. This is all about relationships between students and teachers. If students feel supported, they are more likely to go to adults around them for help, and a possible shooting could be averted through positive teacher-student relationships. In more recent years, I have talked to other parents who have lost their children to shootings, and we've all talked about changes we'd like to see put into action. Yet we still see school shootings happening despite these efforts to make change. It feels like a never-ending cycle of feeling like change has been made to once again reading about a school shooting and wondering what went wrong. I just want my son to have a safe place at school. Students should not have to go to school in fear of getting shot, and parents should have the assurance that nothing bad will happen to their kids while they're at school.
We don't know all the things that are broken. We're still discovering them because we've been asleep and haven't been paying attention. I've read a lot about Columbine, 10 to 14 years later on. Principal said he had kids that go through that were fine. Went to college, appeared to be fine, got married, appeared to be fine, and had children, and bam! Just fell to pieces. Generational PTSD. With our society, it's a sense of, a bit of shame. Especially for younger people to say. And now that's why I came out and said, look, yes, I got PTSD. I'm thinking of having a t-shirt made, Got PTSD? I do.
When my son was growing up, he was the sweetest little boy. Sure, he was shy, but he loved spending time with his father and me. He loved playing games and going camping with us. He always had difficulty making friends, but he made a quite loyal friend growing up, and they had a little group. This friend of his would always come over, and they would be up in his room for hours. Little did I know they were planning a mass school shooting and organizing weapons under my roof. Little did I know that they were planning to culminate the shooting with taking their own lives. I feel I did not know my son at all. I would give my life over and over again for the lives that they took. I think about it every single day of my life and how I wish it could be different. I think about the signs I miss and how if I had seen them, I could have gotten him help before it was too late. I've continued to ask myself over the years, how did I not know? His dad and I loved him so much, but we couldn't see the pain submerged in him. Before the shooting happened, I would have thought I was a good mother. I did the most I could to provide for my two children. I showed them love and kindness in my home. Sure, my kids got into trouble sometimes, but I never thought it was great cause for concern. But after the shooting, I have to live with the fact that I did not know my son at all. I didn't know the suicidal thoughts he was feeling. I did not know that his friend was a bad influence on him. I did not know that other future school shooters would look at the one my son committed as a blueprint for their own shootings. I wish he had come to me and said, "Mama, I need help." Now he is no longer alive. I'm glad he's no longer being tormented by his inner demons. I will be tormented by mine for the rest of my life. I can only seek forgiveness and attempt to somehow move forward from this.
Hey, babe. Excited for the first day of school tomorrow?
Of course. You know, I love my job and I can't wait to see all the kids in person.
Okay, but...
You know me too well. All right, I can't help but be scared. COVID only hit a year and a half ago and I'm supposed to be in a classroom with at least 15 kids. I wouldn't be surprised if this only lasts a few weeks and then we have to shut everything down again.
Well, yes, I mean, that could happen, but why think about it before it happens? I mean, you never know. Things could maybe be getting better.
It's not just that. You know, there's a high chance of transmission indoors. And God forbid, what if a school shooting happens? We're supposed to keep our doors open for ventilation. We're supposed to have lots of outdoor activities for the kids. And I feel like administration is just ignoring this very real threat that we could be letting into our school. If a shooter comes on the grounds and we're outside in the open, that doesn't keep the kids safe. At least if we are indoors, we can prop the windows open in a locked position. That way we can quickly prop them closed if we're under attack. That's better than nothing.
I mean, wow. Can't stay indoors, otherwise you risk COVID, and or if you stay outdoors, you're vulnerable.
Don't get me wrong. I know the risk of COVID is dangerous, but I don't think we should be spending longer than recess and a lunch period outside. I have to keep the kids safe. I know I have to. It's my job.
I know it is. Please don't worry. I'll be okay. You're the most trained teacher with lockdown protocol, and in the small chance that it does happen, I know you will protect those kids. It's in your nature.
Okay.
I felt, well, maybe I could absorb some of this sadness, or maybe I could deflect some of this by just standing in this vigil, sort of like silent vigil. I woke up and I thought, oh my God, if this is now what my town is known for, I just couldn't bear it. And what was this? I was compelled, and I had this dream, and I woke up and I said, I have to go make a sign. I have to go make a sign and go sit out somewhere. So I called my friend Vicky and I said to her, I'm going to make a sign, and it's going to say, I am love. I am Newtown. And I'm going to sit at the highway exit 10, so that it's the first thing they see when they come in and the last thing they see when they leave. So me and my daughter made this sign.
No amount of time and patience can heal the wounds of countless tragedies and lives that were lost in these massacres. The only way we can achieve that is through the unity of the people.
The negative and accusatory tone of those who call people suffering crisis actors is the epitome of victim blaming. Raising awareness and sharing their traumatic experiences does not warrant being deemed a liar. It should make you feel brave for being able to speak up. The denial and the act of calling conspiracy on the heinous events of school shootings is grotesque, insensitive, and inhumane. We must act together to provide safety for those in school.
Gun control is far from perfect, however. If there is no sort of law governing reinforcement, this can only bring stress once schools return in person. The youth of the United States should not have to worry about a school shooting in the back of their minds. It is moral to elevate and understand the big question of why things like this happen. The only way we can do this is to learn how to help and prevent.
We hear this talk about mental health being a big concern in the highest order of government. Teen depression is on a heavy incline. 1 in 6 adults take antidepressants, and 1 in 5 adults in the US have some form of mental illness. These numbers are alarming, but there's a way to counteract this problem. It starts here. No more talking out our asses, but actually caring. The disgusting indifference from the GOP prevents people from resources required for mental health. They should do more besides praying for common sense and compromise. Within the last 2 weeks, there's been a one-on-one act of gun violence involving a police officer and an armed student at Austin East Magnet High School in Knoxville, Tennessee. Officials believed that the student had opened fire and a police officer shot back in response. However, since then, it has been reported that police officers' injury were not caused by the student. Meanwhile, the student was shot in the altercation.
In addition to this, the amount of mass shootings during the year 2021 alone is unacceptable. Some of these mass shootings include 3 spas in Acworth and Atlanta, Georgia, where 6 of the 8 people shot and killed were women of Asian descent. Boulder, Colorado, where 10 people, including a police officer, were killed in a grocery store, and in Indianapolis, Indiana, where 8 people were killed at a FedEx facility with the shooter's intent to die from suicide from himself or a cop.
Despite all these systemic atrocities, there's still hope. As the dust settles amongst the chaos, there is hope and peace. Even as years pass, we will always remember. We heal over time, but we will always be brought back to that one fateful day. This time, we aren't hiding in the shadows. We are in the front line advocating for change. Some of us want to work in schools and some of us don't. And for those of us that do, the thought of a shooter barging into our classroom cannot prevent us from following our passions. Even so, years later, we have hope that the future will be different. All we have is each other, and the path forward is to learn about mental health and to crack down on the legality of obtaining guns. There is a difference between defending yourself and harming the innocent. Love and safety before fear and destruction.
Nothing can stop the human spirit, and hopefully in the future, there will never be another school shooting. Never again. But for now, we stay in our homes. One day when we all freely return to in-person learning, we want everyone to feel safe, loved, and cared for. One day, it will happen.
After first graders were gunned down at Sandy Hook, what did you do? Not a damn thing. After 49 people, including my 2 brothers, were murdered at Pulse, what did you do? Not a damn thing. You plugged your ears and turned your eyes in hopes that we would stop talking. Now we're here again. 17 people are dead. 14 of them are children. And what did you do yesterday when given the chance to do something about it? Not a damn thing. Brandon Wolf, Pulse nightclub shooting survivor.
when we've had our say with the government, and maybe adults have gotten used to saying it is what it is. But if us students have learned anything, it's that if you don't study, you will fail. And in this case, if you actively do nothing, people continually end up dead. So it's time to start doing something. Emma Gonzalez, Parkland school shooting survivor.
I have had enough of being in the dark. I have had enough of sitting around while adults do nothing. I am not content with being in the corner anymore. Eden, 12th grade, Iowa City, Iowa.
We cannot protect our guns before we protect our children. Florence Yared, Parkland school shooting survivor in Tallahassee.
March 2020 was the first March in 2 decades without a school shooting, depending on the definition of school shooting. It shouldn't have taken a pandemic to make this possible. Hillary Clinton.
This pandemic ends and we emerge from this physical distancing reality. The guns will remain. Will there be increased mass shootings? School shootings. Shootings at home, at work, at concerts. Guns Down America Executive Director Igor Volsky.
Historically, pandemics have forced humans to break with the past and imagine their world anew. This one is no different. It is a portal, a gateway between one world and the next. Arundhati Roy. Thank you so much to everyone who came out to view this performance tonight. We are going to segue into a talkback, which is being led by Bernardo.
Well. Oh my goodness. Let us all give a collective shout out to Renee and the company and give them many thanks and appreciation. That was fabulous, everybody. Congrats. Wow, very powerful. So what we're going to do is, hey, Renee, let me ask you a quick question. Would you like the audience to give the audience the option of turning off their non-video participant box, and if they would like to be visible, they can be, but no pressure one way or the other?
Yes.
Would you like that?
Yes, that is okay.
Okay, so anybody, you are free to choose to allow yourself to be seen if you would like. That would be great. Oh, look at this, fantastic. So yes, follow the bouncing ball, the little yellow box, and you will be able to see who's talking as we go. So thank you, everybody. We'll spend about 10 or 15 minutes with this conversation here. My light's so hot. Okay, and I first want to start off by, so we're going to have several different sort of stages of this conversation, and if you would like to participate and say something or ask a question, there's 3 different ways that you can do this. One is that you can raise your digital hand, right? If you're good with Zoom, or you could raise your literal hand, right? And hopefully I'll see you, or one of us can see you and point, say, hey, Bernardo, so-and-so raised their hand. Or you can type it in the chat, okay? So if you're you can choose any of these 3 ways to participate in this conversation. And we'll try to keep track of all 3 of these methodologies so that folks can feel free to say whatever they like or ask anything they like. So the first question I want to pose to everybody is, would anyone like to share a moment or an impression or a speech or a character or anything at all, anything that you took from the reading of this piece that made an impression on you, that stood out for you, that resonated with you, and I will. Does anybody need any further explanation of that question? No? Okay, cool. So who would like to get us started? Something that jumped out at you. Yes, go ahead, Bree.
Hello. I've always wanted to say, this isn't my piece, but I've always wanted to say that the piece that Renee wrote about the mother with the son, with the school shooter, I really thought that was a really good piece of work. I've never thought of it from that point of view. And when Sam did it every time, I just always am in awe. So I just thought that was amazing.
Great, thank you, thank you. I'll jump in really quickly. I really appreciate the mixture of scripted pieces, right, character pieces, as well as the information, right? The sort of the facts, the listing, for example, the listing of all the shootings, the school shootings at the very beginning of the play. It really was very effective in sort of setting the scene for what was coming next. We didn't know what was coming next. However, as it played out, it really felt even more authentic because we were just given this long list of many recognizable names and events that we know of from this last past generation. So I thought that was a really astute and interesting way to sort of structure the play with these different direct address to the audience sections. So yay! I thought that was awesome. Other thoughts, moments, characters, ideas, stuff that struck you. Anybody? Well, feel free to. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Veronica.
Definitely the scene that stands out to me, like every single rehearsal, was the first scene that Luke and I were in from Columbinus. It was definitely the hardest scene to rehearse because I've never experienced that. I don't know how to, I didn't know how to like be like that, like be in that situation, like be in such like big danger that you like don't know what to do. And that scene, that scene really sticks to me. And it makes me very emotional. Very emotionally draining rehearsing it and doing it tonight. And I just, it was heartbreaking to hear because that was an actual phone conversation between a real teacher from Columbine High School to a dispatch officer. So hearing the actual audio was probably 10 times heartbreaking than what I tried to do tonight.
Thank you, Veronica. I want to congratulate you. It was quite powerful and to open the monologue section, of the play with that piece was very effective and very, very strong. I really like the staging of that too, with the empty seat and the blue light and the red light behind the chair, which sort of reads police, 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 or ambulance, ambulance, ambulance to us out there, and from being watching things in the media, and certainly our association with those colors, with sirens and whatnot. So I thought that was super strong choices and very powerful to not see Luke's face in that and just hear the voice, because that's what the dispatchers do, the 911 dispatchers. You never see those people, right? So I thought it was a really interesting representation of that kind of relationship that forms between somebody who's calling in an emergency and the dispatcher. I want to point out one thing that was in the chat. Very interesting, sort of to put moving and troubling, and yet so hopeful for the future. I think that I agree that the piece does all three of those things, and because it's so easy for us to kind of lose hope, yeah, in the face of so many tragedies. It's not so difficult to feel like, wow, this is hopeless. We're never going to pull ourselves out of this thing, and yet you found some moments towards the end of the play that were gave us a little glimmer of hope there. I thought that was really very nice and important for us to be able to walk away from the play going, not feeling quite so awful. Yeah, because we could easily walk away from this play feeling quite awful. Yeah. And so I thought that was really a nice and strong choice for you to include that sort of element in the piece. Why don't we move on? And I want to ask Renee if she's got any questions for us, for the audience, and or the actors.
Yes, I came up with 3 questions that I was going to ask tonight. The first is, which part of this performance was the most thought-provoking to you?
Okay, audience.
I think
Okay, Oscar.
Oscar.
Go ahead.
Well, the whole entire piece stuck out to me. It was very powerful. A lot of different perspectives and a lot of stories. Well, like the ones that like impacted me and like really started making me like get emotional were, I think it was there was, I think Brandon did a piece. Yeah, and Brandon, you killed it. You did very good. Just the perspective of a teacher not being able to do anything to save more lives, and that his life was saved instead. And there were so many others that he wished he could have done something. And I don't know, that really hit me. Yeah.
And thank you, Oscar.
And like the one scene where the where it was retold, where just parents are outside of schools, just full of anxiety, fear, and just wondering if wondering if their kids are all right, or any of them. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Oscar. Thank you. Yes, agreed. Okay, Mark.
Hey, can you hear me? Okay.
Absolutely.
So I just want to comment. Everything was extremely strong during all this. One of, I think, the biggest parts for me was that sort of middle breakup monologue that Renée did, which basically was like showing about how repetitive the nature of all this is, how it just basically keeps happening and happening and happening, and just the progression that goes through each time of like, we're going to fix it. Oh, wait, no, we aren't. Like that sort of thing. I think that sort of brings it into a full loop back around, and it kind of not only shows like the progression of all this, but ties both of the bookends of this production together. So, yeah.
Great. Thank you, Mark. Thank you. Fantastic. Great observation. Somebody else. Okay, Cassandra.
Hello, if you can hear me. So while I was listening to all this, and Mark brought up a very good point too, is like how it's repetitive. And it just brought back a memory back to when I was in 7th or 8th grade. I went to a leadership conference, and one of the speakers was the brother of a girl who went to Columbine, and she was the first person who was shot. And he was speaking, and he was talking to us about how she always tried to spread kindness, and how she was trying to create a chain reaction. And then he showed us a video of the 2 shooters and what they were saying. And they kept bringing up chain reaction, how they wanted to start a chain reaction. And it brought back the memory, because you guys said that Columbine was the blueprint to school shooting. And then Mark brought it up that it was repetitive, that every school shooting was repetitive. And that just kind of brought back that memory of how she was trying to start a chain reaction, and how those shooters were trying to start a chain reaction. So I just thought that just brought back a memory that like hit me So yeah, I thought that was very powerful.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes. Any other? Okay. So why don't we move on to? Thank you. These are fantastic responses. Oh, Renee, you want to go on to another question?
Yeah. My next one is, what is one thing you can take away from viewing this performance?
What is one thing that you can take away from viewing this performance? Anybody? I'll tell you one thing for me, inaction breeds inaction. And that's one thought I have. Cassandra.
So one thing, and I brought this up in my other in the other question, was spread kindness. You know, a lot of these kids who become shooters tend to usually be kids that are outcasted, bullied, and are just under some sort of pressure. And I think just, you know, spreading kindness, being kind to everybody, making everybody a friend instead of an enemy, I think would definitely, you know, help, you know, because everybody needs a friend. So I think that's something that we can definitely take away, is just to spread kindness.
Thank you. Oscar, it looks like you had something.
More awareness, just that one phrase, just more emphasis on see something, say something.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you. Renee, you have one more question, yes?
Yes, I do. If you could alter this performance in any way, what aspect would you alter and why?
Say it one more time.
All right. If you could alter this performance in any way, what aspect would you alter and why?
Mark.
So, being a sound designer, just the obvious from a sound design perspective, underscoring in transitions. That's about it. Other than that, it was good.
Yeah, that's an excellent suggestion. But yes, that's absolutely towards production side. And so, yeah, because if you fully produce, this play has so many ways that designers and production folks could really collaborate with Renee's play and you know, be very, very effective. Thank you, Mark, for bringing that one up. Other ideas or other ways that you would like to respond to Renee's question?
Let's see. Perry responded to the previous question in the chat.
Which is sitting by and not actively taking action, such as voting, is an action in itself. We have to take action, make the future we dream of a reality. Yes, my goodness. Thank you. That's a very, very articulate way to put this. Thank you, Perry. It's awesome. Thanks for pointing that out, Veronica. Yeah, that's a kind of an interesting question, Renee, because I would almost answer it with another question. But actually, why don't we? I'm just trying to keep an eye on the time here, so we don't go too long. Let's see if anybody would like to ask Renee a question based on what you saw. What do you have a question for Renee? And I'll lead us off with one, which is Renee, who do you want most to see this piece?
Who do I want most to see this piece? I think anyone that is comfortable watching it. I would never want to have it. I know we did put a trigger warning in the beginning, and that's for a reason. You know, I would never want someone to view it and come away upset and like it hit sort of a spot that it shouldn't hit. So I think anyone that's comfortable viewing it, anyone that is in school or plans to work in schools in the future, and then to be honest, anyone that lives in this country, because we see it more in the United States than any other country, pretty much. I did a lot of research before writing any of the pieces or selecting pieces from published plays about how it's such a big problem in the United States, but we don't see it nearly as frequently in any other country.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Great answer. Anybody else got a question for Renee? And actually a question for the cast as well. I should have mentioned that earlier. If you would like to ask a question of Renee and or the other folks in the room. I'm looking around. Actually, I have another question, Renee.
All right.
What made you choose, what led you to structure the play the way you structured it?
I mean, it definitely was strategic in the way I placed all my pieces, where I wanted it to kind of start with the event itself, which is the first scene from Columbinus. So that starts with the event, and pretty much every other piece is the aftermath. And then it sort of ends in a hopeful resolution, but with the awareness that this is still very much a problem. So I definitely wanted to structure it similarly to that. And also there were some pieces I kind of paired together, such as Breanna had a piece about accidental activists, where you might not know your stance on guns, but once that event happens to you or a family member, you really have a stance because it happened to you. And I paired that sort of, it was right, I believe it was right after Veronica's piece about that I wrote, which was about someone who was very familiar with guns, and then the shooting happens and she can no longer hold the weapon because of what it did to her dad. So I paired those together for that reason. And then I did another pairing later on, which was another scene with Veronica and Jenny with the therapy session. So I paired that. I put it right before Brandon's piece about PTSD, just because the two themes really went together, where they had both, in Jenny's case, her character had been present during a shooting. And then with Brandon's, he was a parent recovering from his kid witnessing that at a school. So I definitely tried to, and they both sort of had mental health implications as a result. So I tried to pair those together as well.
Great. So audience, you're seeing how deliberate and planned out this was, right? Shout out for the playwrights. Very nice. Okay, I do have one more question, but I'm going to see if anybody else has a question before I dominate. Anybody have a question for Renee or one of the actors? Yeah, Oscar. Yeah. Okay. No, don't do that. Okay, Renee, I have one more question for you.
All right.
When the actors did the direct address to the audience, yeah, and they weren't those characters anymore from the monologues or the scenes, were they intended to be actors? Were they intended to be, who were they intended to be in your mind?
I have a few ideas about this. I mean, I would call it like the ensemble, where like the sole purpose of it happens in the intro, and then in a piece towards the end, which is called Hope, which leads into the quotes at the end. So those are the three areas where that does happen. So I think during those, it's just people who are trying to spread awareness about this issue. And then through that awareness, they kind of have these monologues and these scenes interspersed.
Okay, great. Great, because I think that's an interesting device that you could continue to tweak and look at and tease out a little bit in any direction you want, really. But it's very effective. I just was curious about your strategy there. Terrific. Renee, do you want to do this last little? I forgot it. We had this conversation and I don't remember what you said. Do you want to hear some opinions?
Sure. Yeah, I would
Okay.
be very open to that.
Okay, great. So, so this is now not a question where you have to ask a question or you're answering a question of Renee's, but do you have any unsolicited opinions that you would like to share with Renee? It's kind of like not too far from the question she asked already, which was what would you like to see happen in this play, or what would you add to it, for example. But that's not necessarily this question. It's any opinion at all is valid. Thoughts, feelings. What are you walking away from this feeling like, etc., etc. Anybody want to share thoughts?
Yeah,
like
I'll share my thoughts.
Go ahead. Thank you, Julian.
Yes, hello. Hi. Well, first of all, excellent job all around with everyone. Just it's mind blowing. I'm still sitting here trying to process everything. But yeah, I thought this was a very I want to commend you, Renee, for taking on the topic of school shooting, because I don't think that's ever an easy topic to talk about. And I think this is a really good, really good piece to start off with. I think you should go on with this piece and, tweak it, edit it, make it longer, or, do something with it in the future. Because, this topic is very easily cast aside, and like I said, it's not because it's so hard to sit down and talk about something so destructive, dire, and morbid. But yeah, I think this should be something, whether it's a full-fledged play or maybe it turns into a screenplay or a series or something. I really think it should go somewhere like that. And yeah, excellent job. I commend everyone who worked on this at all. Great job.
Thank you, Julian. That's really well put. Awesome. Oh, did you want to say something else? No. Okay. Veronica.
So this was a very powerful project. I'm really happy that Renee asked me to be a part of this, and I'm happy to see everyone again and be a part of such an amazing project. I really do hope that this spreads. I would love for anyone with any viewing technology to watch this, because I think, uncomfortable or not, you need to know. I strongly feel like we shouldn't live in ignorance. We shouldn't we should definitely acknowledge, even if it does make us uncomfortable, excluding those who do legit have PTSD or anything that could cause harm to them from viewing this. But I really hope it really gets around. I really hope people will actually take the time to stop and think about it, because people are either like, oh yeah, I want guns, don't take my guns away, or they're stop guns, restrict gun laws. So I don't know. I think when you actually hear and actually listen to the people who have been through it, I feel like people, I'm hoping, seeing the good in people, will have some compassion towards those people. And I like this piece. These pieces were very strong and powerful. I think Renee. There's one more thing I want to say. I love how Renee did her research. She did everything she could to be as respectful to these people, and she didn't just willy-nilly put something together. She didn't just say, oh yeah, I'm gonna write a monologue about like this, even though I have no experience with it. You know, she did her research and it shows. And I just want to say thank you to Renee for doing her part to make sure that it is as respectful and as strong as she intended it to be.
Beautifully put. Thank you. Thank you very much, Veronica. All right, that was excellent. And maybe that's a pretty good place for us to, unless somebody else wants to throw in a last comment. Got you. Go ahead, Oscar. You have the floor.
Congratulations, Renee, and everyone who participated in it. It was very I don't know, just props to you for taking on a subject matter like this. I definitely see Zorro in you.
Oh my gosh.
That's a reference. Okay. You guys are all like, what? Except for the people who know the Zorro story. Okay. Thank you, Oscar. That's awesome. So I do want to like sort of start to close us out here and thank the cast. Thank Nathan, who was your stage manager. And Renee, I congratulate you for organizing this as well as you did. It was very nicely done and put together, and you clearly rehearsed this with your actors, and they came through for you, and that was really great. And I want to thank the audience also for participating. If you have comments or further thoughts, please do reach out to Renee and send her your thoughts. Write her an email or give her a call or send her a text or send up some smoke signal or something to get her attention and have a conversation with her, because as several comments have made clear, this piece could grow and expand and could have more time spent on it, and there could be definitely some good things that could happen as a result of this piece continuing to get worked on. So want to encourage that, Renee, of all you all, for you to do that. And I also just very quickly want to make a quick announcement that this is the first of a bunch of senior projects that are going to be having sort of public presentations over the next week and a half, 2 weeks. So be on the lookout. We will be sending out emails. We will post a bunch of announcements on the department's Facebook page and et cetera, et cetera. So please look out. We have several coming up next week and more the week after that. So you all are cordially invited to come and support each other's work. Support the families. Thank you so much, Renee's family and anybody connected to Renee's personal life. Thank you for showing up and supporting her. She's a great student and a great collaborator and quite a nice artist. So thank you, everybody. And you can either sign out or hang out in the lobby and talk with Renee, whatever you'd like to do. All right. So thank you very much, and we'll see you around. Okay. Take care, everybody. Thank you.
Good, everyone. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, Oscar.
Thank you.
All right, Renee, I don't want to take up your if you're recording, you're still recording and all that stuff. So yeah, I know. I don't want to just like have random conversation. But congrats again. Congratulations. It really was really good. I hope you feel good about it. I think it was very effective and people really enjoyed themselves. So enjoyed themselves in the way they're supposed to enjoy themselves with a piece like this. Yeah. Okay. All right. And take good care. And we'll talk more soon. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Congrats again.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I miss you, Bernardo.
Oh, Veronica, I miss you so much. It was so nice to see your face. Oh my gosh. When are we coming? You got to come back as soon as possible.
I'll see. Oh, I don't know. I'm still trying to decide if I want to come back this or in the fall, or if I want to take another year and try to apply again.
Okay, well, whatever you decide, and or if you want to chat, let me know, okay? And
Thank
let's
you,
talk about it. Okay, thank you. We'll see you soon. Okay.
Bye.
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 Bye.